Welcome to The Dark Evidence. This is a show where we explore infamous crimes and their connection to the world today. I am your host, Valeria, and in today's episode, we'll look into one of the most chilling, unsolved cases of the 20th century, the Zodiac killer. But we won't stop there. We'll also discuss how the process of scientific investigation plays a crucial role in solving, or not solving, such cases, and compare this infamous case to a more recent investigation that has caught the public's attention. This podcast aims to bring together the past, the present, and the science behind solving mysteries. We're going to start this podcast by reflecting on weekly activities that we have for this class. For this module, we've concentrated on the process of science, with a particular emphasis on physical evidence and its key role in solving cases. This week, we learn how even the smallest piece of trace evidence can unravel complex mysteries and bring resolution to criminal investigations. A single strand of hair, a fiber, or a faint fingerprint can carry immense weight in determining the outcome of a case. We also explored the broad spectrum of evidence types, everything from DNA to footprints, fingerprints, or even minute particles in the soil. Each category of evidence, no matter how seemingly insignificant, holds the potential to unlock crucial truths. The complex analysis of these traces can lead to the identification of suspects, shape the direction of an investigation, and ultimately determine guilt or innocence. Whether it's linking a suspect to a crime scene or corroborating an alibi, the detailed examination of physical evidence is often the key to solving cases and delivering justice. Now, we can start diving into the mystery of the Zodiac killer. Between the years of 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac killer is believed to have murdered at least five people, though he claimed responsibility for as many as 37. His victims were often young, mainly couples, and his crimes were spread across different locations in Northern California. What made the Zodiac especially terrifying was not just his random acts of violence, but his communication with the police and media through taunting letters, ciphers, and phone calls. These ciphers, many of which remain unsolved, contained cryptic messages and were signed with a symbol resembling a crosshair. Despite counting with the physical evidence of having the suspect's handwritings for comparison, the forensic letter or handwriting analysis was inconclusive. Some opinions from experts suggested that different people wrote the letters and ciphers, and others even considered the possibility of the suspect being ambidextrous. The police poured resources into the investigation, but the Zodiac's identity remained elusive, in part because of the lack of forensic tools available at the time. The Zodiac case was hampered by incomplete evidence, the killer's erratic and undecipherable behavior, as well as the wide-ranging area of his crimes, making it one of the most infamous unsolved cases in history. You might be wondering, so how does this connect to the process of science? Well, the investigation into the Zodiac killer is an excellent example of how the scientific method plays a role in criminal investigations. Just as in science, solving a crime begins with gathering evidence, be it physical evidence like fingerprints or DNA, or even psychological profiling. Investigators form hypotheses about potential suspects or motives. Then they test those hypotheses by comparing them to evidence, and sometimes they even must revise their hypotheses when new information comes in light. In the Zodiac case, forensic science has evolved since the murders, leading to new insights, but the investigation has been sadly obstructed by the lack of inconclusive, testable evidence to identify the killer. Now, let's fast forward to the 21st century and the chilling Gilgo Beach murders. For more than a decade, the Long Island coastline was the scene of an equally terrifying mystery. Between 2010 and 2011, the remains of multiple women were discovered along Ocean Parkway, near Gilgo Beach. The victims, many of whom were sex workers, were found in various stages of decomposition, indicating they had been killed over a long period of time. These murders have presumably committed between 1990s and 2011. This case baffled investigators for years, but as more bodies were uncovered, the pattern became pretty much clear. This was the work of a serial killer, methodically hunting victims and dumping the remains in the same area. The case dragged on for years with little progress, causing public and law enforcement frustration like that during the Zodiac investigation. However, in 2023, a major breakthrough occurred when authorities arrested Rex Heuermann, a New York architect, in connection with several of the murders. This arrest came about largely due to advances in DNA technology and digital forensics, showing just how much crime solving has progressed since the Zodiac days. But what makes the scientific method even more critical is that it's not just about identifying suspects, it is also about ruling out those who aren't guilty. In cases like the Zodiac and Gilgo Beach, hundreds of suspects were considered over the years, and many of them were dismissed after careful scientific analysis. We tend to focus on the breakthroughs, but the process of ruling out false leads is just as important. Each hypothesis that doesn't work helps investigators zero in on the right answers. Just as in forensic research, scientific research, where every failure brings you one step closer to the truth. In this case, the Zodiac killer's case remains unsolved because of a lack of strong evidence that can be scientifically tested. Investigators face challenges like poor evidence preservation, the limited technology of the time, and also the killer's ability to mislead authorities. Contrast that with the breakthroughs in the Gilgo Beach case, and we see how far the process of investigation has come, with science playing an increasingly important role in cracking tough cases. But that leaves us with some important questions. Could today's forensic tools finally help solve the Zodiac mystery? How would the investigation have been different if the advanced DNA analysis and digital forensics we now have been available back then in the 1960s? As we reflect on these famous cases, we're reminded that science is an ever-evolving process, whether it's in the lab or in the field of criminal justice. It is a process that takes patience, precision, and sometimes, as the Zodiac case proves, a lot of unanswered questions. Yet, as technology improves, the hope of solving cold cases becomes more and more of a reality. Thanks for joining me today as we explored the mystery of the Zodiac killer and its modern-day echoes in the Gilgo Beach case. What are your thoughts on how science has shaped criminal investigations? Do you think we can finally see the end of the Zodiac mystery in our lifetime? Let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to The Dark Evidence for more stories where the past meets the present. Stay curious, stay informed, and always question the shadows. Until next time, I'm Valeria, and this has been The Dark Evidence.